Hello and welcome to the CWU TV News Roundup, featuring all of the major headline stories from around the Union this month. As usual, you'll be able to find out more detail and extended reports on all of our featured stories on the CWU TV website and in the Union's online magazine, eVoice. Just look out for the icons you see on screen now that show you where they are. Coming up, new government threat to employment rights. Agency workers receive equal treatment at last. Closures looming at Virgin Media and Capita sites. And here we go. Compensation claims mount against BT over hearing damage to engineers. Britain's workforce was given some unwelcome news at the start of 2012 as the government revealed plans to curtail current employment rights. Tony Rooper, CWU Head of Legal Services, told us more.
The government is using the current economic crisis to attack workers' rights in this country. The first and important issue that they're going to raise is that from April of this year, the intent to extend the qualifying period for individuals to apply for an unfair dismissal tribunal from the current 1 year period of employment to 2 years. Not only are they changing the regulations, they're also going to make it even more difficult for employees or for workers to take a tribunal by introducing a £250 admission fee onto that. This is going to affect low-paid workers from the start, as many of them will not have the £250 fee in the first place to put the tribunal in.
Revisions have been taking place in delivery offices across the UK as part of the agreed modernisation process. It's becoming clear that some are working, but many are not. CWU Assistant Secretary Bob Gibson tells us why involvement of all employees and local knowledge is essential in the successful rollout of these revisions.
Two key tools that we use in the delivery revisions is the indoor workload tool and the Pegasus Geo route. Both of these tools are not an exact science. From what we're seeing, most units where there's been full involvement of the CWU, you tend to see that the revisions are going in and they're more successful. If you exclude the CWU representative, you've got more chances of failure. But I do think overriding that is this obsession by Royal Mail with 100 BSI that's driving too many savings indoors and is actually preventing people getting out on the street in time to start delivering the mail.
The CWU has condemned the decision by outsourced company Capita to close its TV licensing operations in Bristol and cut hundreds of jobs across the UK. The union, which has recently been involved in a pay dispute with the company, expects almost 400 staff in Bristol to be affected by plans that will see approximately 200 posts transferred to the company's site in Darwin, Lancashire, and up to 80 specialist jobs retained at a separate site in Bristol. Elsewhere, 5 jobs will be lost from a site in Glasgow, and over 40 management jobs from field operations are expected to go, with some work being outsourced to Mumbai in India. We spoke to CWU Assistant Secretary Andy Fury about the developments.
The union's objective in these negotiations is to protect as many jobs as possible, to avoid by the utmost means any compulsory redundancy, and trying to get the best redundancy packages possible for those workers that are happy to go but obviously want to get the best terms that are available. We've made it clear to them that any resolution for the closures and relocations and redundancies of people needs to also include with it an integral resolution to the pay dispute, which also involves our members in Darwin and out in the field. So the pay issue hasn't gone away, but obviously with facing 400 redundancies, that's become the prime focus of the union.
A 6-year-long campaign by the union finally paid off on December the 24th last year, when the official implementation of the new agency regulations resulted in hundreds of thousands of agency workers across the UK at last being granted equal employment rights. The union will now seek to ensure that the new rights to equal treatment are applied, as well as campaign on behalf of CWU members recently employed by Manpower on the controversial pay between assignment contracts. CWU Assistant Secretary Sally Bridge explained more.
The type of issues that we're having flagged up to us now are really around are the rates of pay accurate? Are they getting what they are entitled to? We've also got cases where individuals are challenging the actual mapping of the BT role that they've been aligned to, and we are in discussions with BT and Manpower on those, and we've agreed with Manpower how we formally challenge those under the agency regulations. The next priority of ours is to really evaluate the number of our agency members and Manpower members in particular that actually did not apply for equal treatment because they have a pay between assignment contracts. And what we have to do is we have to make sure that they understand that we're representing what they want and we're actually trying to address their issues.
Now let's take a quick-fire look at some of the other top stories from around the union this month. URS catering members based at BT sites across the country have voted overwhelmingly to accept the company's final offer of a 2.5% pay increase. The CWU's Mobro 7 and their Movember moustaches raised £6,000 for charities fighting male cancers. The union welcomed the announcement that Johan Lamont has been elected as the new Labour leader for Scotland. CWU General Secretary Billy Hayes has repeated his commitment to increase involvement of youth in the union. And CWU Legal Services Administrator and Local Councillor Edith McCauley has been awarded an MBE in the New Year's Honours List for her services to the local community. Edith said she felt immensely proud to be honoured in such a way. The CWU's Legal Services Department is hard at work, processing what may become the biggest single-issue collection of personal injury cases ever mounted by the union against BT, following the publication of an article in 2010 that highlighted a growing body of evidence that faulty equipment issued by the company has resulted in cases of irreversible hearing damage. CWU Head of Legal Services Tony Rooper told us more.
The union is currently handling around 3,500 claims on behalf of our members, and those claims are settling on average between £7,000 and £8,000. We would ask any BT engineer, past or present, who may be suffering from hearing loss or tinnitus and has used the equipment during their course of employment to contact the CWU either via their local branch secretary or contact the CWU's legal helpline, which is a free phone number.
The clock is now ticking towards the closure of Virgin Media's Adecco managed call centre in Liverpool, heralding the loss of 470 Merseyside jobs. The union has stated that it's a battle on behalf of its members that's far from over. John East, CWU National Organising Secretary, has this update.
The situation at the moment is that the centre is confirmed to close at the end of April. We're putting our effort as the union now into trying to help members get alternative jobs. We've been successful in getting 50 members jobs within Virgin Media in the Liverpool area. Santander, who are based in Bootle, have been on site, and as a result of that, a fairly large number of members, around about 60 members, are applying for jobs within Santander. I think most of them are likely to be successful. We've also decided to put in an employment tribunal application against Adecco and Virgin Media. It's our belief that they've completely abused the process for closing the centre. We're hopeful that we'll win that employment tribunal application. If we do, then Virgin Media and Adecco will be stung for heavy fines, which will be paid to the employees. Obviously, nothing can really compensate them, but I don't see why Virgin Media should get away with it on the cheap.
In November 2011, CWU members took to the streets in force, along with other trade unions and political organisations across the country, to support more than 2 million public sector workers who took part in a day of national strikes over unacceptable proposals by the government to reform their pay and pensions.
Why should we pay for the mistakes of the bankers? The majority of the people who are on strike are going to be women who are struggling on the poverty line to actually save for their pensions. They're being cut by the government's austerity measures. They are paying for the mistakes of the bankers, which is why we're out there on the lines to support those individuals.
We should all have decent pensions. CWU members, all trade union members, all workers should have decent pensions. We want to make sure we get that for everybody.
CWU members need to support the dispute. Whilst at the moment we're not directly involved, we have had attacks on pensions ourselves, not least of which the linkage from RPI to CPI, which will affect many thousands of our members in their pension payments going forward. But not only that, the bill at the moment that affects Royal Mail is with the EU, so it's important that we raise the profile amongst our own members, whilst also showing solidarity for other public sector members.
Members at Manx Telecom have voted by almost 9-1 to accept a revised pay offer, which will see their salaries rise by 6.1% by April the 1st. The deal concludes a difficult pay dispute in which the CWU was forced to ballot for industrial action. However, following a resounding yes vote from members, the company's private equity owners have now moved from their previous offer of just 2% in the current pay year. We spoke to CWU Assistant Secretary Davy Bowman to find out more.
The industrial action ballot was overwhelmingly supported. That led us into 2 days of very difficult negotiations. Finally, the deal did go to a consultative ballot, 70% turnout with a 90% yes. The members themselves are very pleased with the deal, and I think from our perspective what it also shows is if they stand together and stay united, we can deliver on their behalf. There will undoubtedly be difficult times ahead because the new owners have got a completely different agenda for how Manx Telecom may look, and I think this exercise will give us the sort of strength that we need to deal with those issues going forward.
The CWU has urged Royal Mail to take swift action against the company's new recruitment agency, Angard, following a growing number of complaints about the mistreatment of casual staff. This is the first year that Angard, owned by Royal Mail and run by Reeds, has been in operation. We spoke to Dave Ward, CWU Deputy General Secretary Postal, who explained more.
The situation with Angard has been a complete disaster, both for the company and the people who were employed by Angard. We've met Royal Mail several times now, and we couldn't have been any clearer with Royal Mail that they need to, first of all, make sure that they've actually paid all the people who worked for the company during the Christmas pressure period. But secondly, that we do actually get an agreement on how Angard will be used in the future. But we also need to secure an agreement that makes sure that in how Royal Mail use Angard in the future, that they don't turn that against our own members, both in terms of their earnings, their contracts of employment. We've had a number of good assurances from the company in letter form. We now want to turn that into a comprehensive agreement on how Angard will be used, and hopefully as part of that we want to recruit some of those workers into the CWU.
Talks with Openreach over resourcing are continuing in an effort to move the company from reneging on various recent agreements, covering the creation of 1,000 new permanent jobs in field engineering and in insourcing of work. CWU Assistant Secretary Davy Bowman explains more.
We have 4 main objectives. The first being that we want to seek a proper resourcing plan from Openreach that meets the terms of the agreements we have between us. The second is that we want to ensure that there is increased permanent direct labour recruitment. We want to make clear that we enhance and maintain the terms and conditions of those who are employed and future employees, and also enhance the job security. We are in a position where certainly the issue around the 500 apprentices is one we want to see movement on. Providing good quality opportunity for young people is very important to us. We're looking at the whole picture, but if we do not see progress in the coming weeks, then yes, we will be calling on the support of our members to move this issue forward.
And finally, CWU General Secretary Billy Hayes, Deputy General Secretary Postal Dave Ward and Deputy General Secretary Telecoms Andy Kerr have all taken part in providing in-depth interviews on the major issues that are going to be affecting members of the Union in 2012. To watch this informative set of interviews and get a grasp of the issues that may affect you, please visit the CWU TV website at www.cwutv.org. Well, that's all for our January roundup. Until next time, thanks for watching.